Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Andrew and this is the ExtraAmo Podcast. Let's get started. So, first thing I want to address. I am extremely new at this. I don't really do social media, kind of at all. So put myself out there, video, audio, all of that, a little bit strange to me. But I did want to answer the question of why a podcast? Why do I think that that's a good idea? And realistically, it speaks to my background. I went and got some fancy degrees in computer science some time ago, and then I ended up teaching computer science at a university for a while. And now I run a gun store, and I own a very small firearms training business, and I am more or less completely obsessed with firearms. But I've always thought there might be a way to blend my teaching and technical background with my love and passion for firearms. Oftentimes, in the gun store, I'll have conversations with people, and I'll have to break down technical stuff, and I'll end up having these good conversations. And more, I'm realizing I just love talking about guns. So I thought, all right, cool. Maybe I do a YouTube channel, and maybe I show off some of my cooler builds. But then I got to thinking about it, and I drive way too far, like way too far to work every day. And I have the audio books, I've got, obviously music, because I'm not a crazy person who doesn't like music. But one of the things I'm always looking for is a new podcast. And I get bored with stuff pretty quick, so finding the right podcast for me has been hard. And finding the right podcast that is in the firearm space, not trying to judge or knock anybody out there, but I just haven't found that one that I can listen to and learn a little something and get some entertainment out of. So I was hoping that maybe with my ability to break down some technical stuff, explain things in a digestible and understandable way for people, I could perhaps use some of the connections I have in the gun industry, which are not amazing, but hey, we'll grow it, to get some people that I know just to have conversations. Talk about guns, and do so while I explain things, right? Don't move past the acronyms and the LPVO this and, MRO that, and whatever else we talk about without explaining what that means and why we care. Because some of the content I like the best is the content not that's just Grand Thumb being like, oh, EOTechs are great. And I gotta be fair here, I don't actually know that he's ever said, oh, EOTechs are great. Probably hasn't. But I like the content where we get people explaining the whys. The why did I change my build to this? Why did I put that light on here? Why do I like this caliber over that caliber? And I thought, that kind of content is the kind of stuff I do all the time. People come over, they look at my stuff, and I'm like, well, hold on. All right, so this is why you go with this bracer. Well, this is why this is the mount I like. And I thought maybe, just maybe, other people would like hearing that too. So what I'm going to endeavor to do, guys, is produce some videos that are fun, interesting, compelling, while providing an avenue for this to be just an audio form. So I'll do some stuff that, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about. But also trying to make it so it's accessible for those who are just listening as well. All right, that's perhaps enough talking about me. I don't really like talking about myself, or really explaining what I'm up to at any given time. Let's talk about a gun. So, what have I got here? This, for those of you who can see, is a Genesis Arms Gen-12 12-gauge shotgun. For those of you who are just hearing me, it's a gray, really big AR-looking thing that has an optic on top. Now, this one's cool because it is the Dracarys Terran tactical version, as seen in John Wick, Chapter 4, I think. And I really like it. Figure if I'm going to explain something about a gun, might as well start with one of my cooler pieces. So let's get into it. Up front, we've got some sort of breacher muzzle device, which is kind of cool. A key mod handguard in 2025 for some reason. Now, breacher muzzle device is crenulated on the front, so you can actually stick it into wood if you have to. Not sure anybody who's using the shotgun is really using it for that, though they are doing supposedly a special Huxworks suppressor that interfaces with this thing. I'll probably talk about that if I ever do a full video on this gun. Now, when I say key mod handrail, that's a sort of an older standard. Came out about the same time as M-LOK, but when Magpul, the company who invented M-LOK, came out with it, they did a really cool thing, and they made it something that anybody could use and license, and they didn't charge anything for the licensing fee. In so doing, it kind of took over everything, and is now the standard for just about everything, except for, it seems like, this shotgun. Moving backwards a little bit further, we've got ambidextrous charging handles that are not in the rear like an AR, but are on the side of the bolt, which is a little odd, but it starts to make sense when you understand how the whole system functions. And up top, an EOTech holographic sight. Now, holographics have their benefits, of course. This one is the single dot version. It's just the one that came on it. I like EOTechs a lot, but in this particular shotgun, I'm not sure it adds a whole lot. Mostly on account of the big benefits of EOTechs are night vision, and I'm not really sure I'd want to use a shotgun for night vision. Moving backwards, we've got magazine, standard pistol grip, and yes, a brace. Now, why does this matter? Why is this cool? Well, it's cool because while shooting 12 gauge, it has standard AR-15 controls. So all of your training, all of your experience, all of your familiarity with an AR platform transfers directly over to it. I think that's pretty cool, mostly because when I use another tactical shotgun like a Benelli M4, Beretta 1301, which are two really common, famous, and popular other tactical shotguns, the loading process is very different from other guns. It can be a little complicated, and it certainly is slower to get a ton of ammo into those methods, types of firearms than something like this. But there are plenty of AR-style semi-automatic shotguns that are fed from a box magazine like this. Why is this one cool? Well, the neat thing about 12 gauge is how much variety there is in the shells. You can get buckshot, you can get birdshot, you can get slugs, you can get even more fancy types of rounds for it. The issue with that is that in semi-automatic shotguns, often doesn't feed well with all types of ammo. Now, plenty of shotguns have fixed this. Some of the ones I mentioned before have fixed this. I have not, however, found one like this that feeds from a box mag in an AR style that is as reliable as this one. Now, I know, based off reading their website, that there is some sort of proprietary bleed-off gas system in this. That's how it works. Don't exactly know how it works, but I can tell you that in my testing, whether it was birdshot, buckshot, slugs, high brass, what have you. Now, when I say high brass, I don't want to move past that point without explaining. So there's different types of shotgun shells, right? A lot of people may or may not know that the ones that are considered quality will actually have a taller or a higher brass component to them. So when people say like high brass shotgun shells, what they mean is that you can make shotgun shells with a really, really short little brass component right at the rear, or you can make them with a taller, which is oftentimes more reliable, handles higher pressures, etc. And if you make them that way, they're considered more premium. So that's where the term high brass comes from. But regardless of any of that, the cheesiest ammo, the best ammo, I've put it through this and it's eaten everything. And it's done it in a platform that all of my other training relates to. And so I think that is very neat. Beyond that, though, I don't have a lot in terms of how I've configured this one to explain, which makes it great because I wanted to keep this video as short as possible. Mostly because I wanted to keep this just the way that it came, just the way that kind of looks like the John Wick gun. But in the future, I will have guests on here, so it won't just be me talking. And I intend to have firearms I have configured, I have customized and changed around, so I'll be able to explain in greater detail the hows and the whats and the whys. I hope that this has been, well, at the very least, clear on why I'm doing it, and also maybe a little bit entertaining as I get to show off one of my guns. And I hope that you'll bear with me and maybe, give me a shot and continue listening to see what I've got planned next. Thank you, and stay safe out there.